All right, let's start.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here for our first workshop in this series that we're doing in the month of April. We started doing this series last year in the Walter McBean galleries, but due to the current shelter and home restrictions, we have been reimagining ways that artists are making art during this time, and also how we at SFAI are facilitating the making and exhibiting of art. My name is Kat Trataris, and I am managing the exhibitions and events here at SFAI. And today's workshop is going to be focused on some basic skills around Sketchup, as well as how to kind of bring your artwork or your art objects into the digital world. And it is being led today by our Chief Preparator, Robin Beard. I have entered some information into the Zoom group chat with a link to the rest of our workshops that will continue to be populated. We're going to be offering the recordings of these workshops on that webpage as well for further reference. And if you have questions, please just enter them into the group chat as we're going along, and I will bring them up to Robin so he can do some demonstration throughout as well.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Hi Robin.
Hi. Due to some technical difficulties, we are trying something new where I am using SketchUp on Kat's screen. So there might be a little bit of troubleshooting as we move forward, but let's give this a try. And if it becomes too big a headache, we may just have to reschedule, but let's try this out. So on your screen, there is a lag. This is your main tool palette. Some of the tools that I use most are the rectangle, the push-pull, the move, the tape measure. And let's use some of these tools now. Let's build a simple room over here out to the side. With the rectangle tool, you can easily set a rectangle on the floor. And if you have a specific dimension you want, like a 10-foot by 10-foot square, you could enter the, after you've set your rectangle, you can still set a dimension by entering 10 foot, comma, 10 foot, and then press enter, and then your square will automatically resize to that dimension.
Robin, can I control the screen for one moment?
Yes.
Do you need these?
I do not need those.
Okay. Thank you. All right, all yours.
Okay. Let me get control again here.
Are you using keyboard shortcuts?
I am trying to escape and it's not working.
Maybe because we're in Zoom.
Oh, okay. There was a question about the dimensions.
Yeah.
There's a box on the lower right that says dimensions. You could enter your dimensions in there. They automatically, when you type on the screen, you don't have to click in that little box. You can just enter them and they automatically appear in there. Once we have a square, then we can make a 3D box by using the push-pull tool. You click on your square and then you can push it up. You can also enter dimension here. So let's make it 10 foot high. And now we have a 10 by 10 by 10 cube. That's solid. We could create some walls with the offset tool. If we click a face, and then it offsets whatever shape it is a certain distance, either outside or inside that line. Let's go on the inside, and let's do 4-inch walls. So hit 4 and then press enter. And then now you have 2 planes in here that you can manipulate. You can see them toggle from dotted to undotted. Let's click on the inside and use our push-pull tool again. And we'll push that down. Let's do 9 feet, 8 inches. And now we have a room. We can come in here. If we wanted to add a door, we could use our tape measure tool. And if you click on an edge, you can pull over a line. And as you get close to the center, you should hover over blue. So the blue dot indicates that that's the center of this wall. You click on that, and then let's go over, let's do a 4-foot door by 7 foot. So you can use your tape measure again and then go on either side of that line. 24 inches. And 4 inches. And then we want to come up. Come up 7 feet. And now we have a dotted line of where a center door is. We can add a rectangle in there. And then we can push that rectangle in 4 inches. You can use your select tool up here to select a face, to select this face. And if you right click, it gives you options on things you can do to that face. We want to erase that face. So now we can see into our room. So now to work inside of this room can be difficult because if you zoom in, so we're inside the room, but to look around, you start rotating and then all of a sudden you're outside of the room. So if we want to work inside of this room without having to constantly be rotating, zooming in and out, we can use the section plane tool, and we can place it on any wall, any of these walls. Let's click this one. We do not want to title it. Okay. And now we have a section plane that will go through your entire model. As you can see what happens over here, it will just cut away so that you can get inside of spaces easily and see what the structure is. Let's continue in our little room. And let's erase our lines. To move this section plane, we need to first select it with the select tool. Turns blue. And now with the move tool, you can grab it and push it. And you can see now we're inside of our room. And now it will be much easier to work in here. Let's place a little pedestal. With a rectangle tool. All right, and now we have a pedestal. When you're done working in a room, or if you want to get rid of the plane, you just highlight it again. Either move it away or just press delete, and then you get rid of that section plane. It comes in very handy when you are trying to work in a tight space. Does anyone have any questions so far? Let's talk about well, Kat. Oh, sorry. Okay, thanks. Kat, do you have any images that we can import in here?
Oh, you know, I think I do. Let me see. I can actually control the files on my computer from my phone.
Oh, and since I don't have access to that menu, maybe I'd talk you through it. So File, and then Imports. And we can import JPEGs, TIFFs, PNGs.
I have a Bitmoji of myself.
Okay, perfect. JPEGs and PNGs are the best images to import into SketchUp. SketchUp will compress them and you can get better quality. But let's take a look at this. Okay, so here's the image. And it's quite large, but you could place it on any face you want. But for now, let's try to place it in our room. Actually, set it on the ground.
Also, Robin, someone was asking about being able to play or video in the space like you would with a projector, so we can cover that a little bit with the QR code.
Yeah. I'm going to set this down on the floor and then open our wall up again. So, section plane. Select, move, orbit. Our section plane erased our photo. Hold on. If you want to move any object, you can select it and then use the move tool. And then you can move it around. That is true for any objects. Okay, let's open this wall up. Oh. Okay. Let's grab our arts. Let's get it into our space. Let's rotate this the right way. When it's selected, you could use the rotate button over here. And that gives you different ways of rotating on different axes. So let's rotate. And then you can enter the degrees that you want. So I want a 90-degree rotate, so I enter 90. And then I want to rotate on the green axis. You can use your arrow keys to flip through the different axes. And then you click the corner that you want to rotate, and then you can come up 90 degrees. All right. And now we can move it. Use the move tool. Let's come down. Do I recommend SketchUp? I find that SketchUp is very easy to learn. And for most of what I use it for, I rarely run into a limitation as to what it can do. There are hundreds of videos online that if you want to learn a specific skill, you can go watch a 5-minute video and learn how to do just about anything pretty easily in it. This is probably the biggest model that I have built. It took me, of the Diego and Courtyard, it probably took me, I'm going to say 10 hours to build this, 10 to 12 hours. There are, most of it, a lot of it I had to build from pictures because the quarantine, I couldn't go and take specific dimensions. We did have dimensions of the gallery and the size of the courtyard, but this front section we have no dimensions for. So if you want to build, if you have a show in a gallery and you want to build that gallery out to see what your work looks like in it, I highly recommend it because it's easy to do and it's easy to import your artwork, especially if it's flat. 3-dimensional work is a little harder. It requires, well, let's turn cat into a sculpture here.
I think one thing I'd like to add to that question is that we've been doing some research about different ways of exhibiting work in this moment, and that, you know, there's a lot of options in terms of VR and stuff like that. But this is the only thing that allows oneself to kind of build something from scratch in your house without a lot of additional resources or expensive equipment.
And there is, I believe, a free student version.
Yeah, I was just researching it right now. Actually, I was trying to figure out what the versions are. I think they're making a lot of exceptions for people to have access due to COVID. But maybe I'll have more information by the end of this. Robin, can I steal your cursor for a second?
Yes.
Okay, it's all yours.
Sorry, how are we doing on time? 2:20, okay. Try to pull this artwork out of this wall. And I'm using a lot of keyboard shortcuts. They make moving around a lot easier. So if you're wondering how I'm switching from tools to tools. It's the keyboard shortcuts. So if you have an image, you can right click on the image and explode, and that allows you to edit things in the image. Right now I'm going to cut the emoji out with the line tool, and then we should be able to push and pull the drawing or the image to make a three-dimensional object. I'm just going to quickly do this. Oops. Other recommendations would be, I used Fusion 360, which is an AutoCAD product, and the learning curve is a lot steeper, but you are able to do a lot more in it. All right, I think I have it cut out. So let's erase the background. All right, so now you can treat this image as an object. So I can select it, and I can push and pull it. And now it's a three-dimensional object. And with that, you can come in here and treat different parts to give it a little more dimensionality differently. So let's say we want this hand to come out farther. So you could import an image of a three-dimensional object, like let's say a chair, for instance, and you can start to push and pull the legs forward and the back, and then slowly create somewhat of a three-dimensional object. It's not that's a fast way of doing it and having the texture of your chair or your sculpture in the piece. Otherwise, you can go in and take a block like this and basically cut away in the same way sculptural form. And build yourself a form this way, and then have a sculptural object. You can also apply an image to this. It's a little more complicated, but it is possible to add an image to a curved surface or a surface with cutouts. I've only done it once or twice. It's not impossible, but it's doable. I'm sorry, there was a question that came up and I missed it. Kat, what was that last question that came up?
Oh, no, I was kind of adding in some information about 360
Okay.
cameras. Yeah.
Okay. The question about video. So we were playing around with adding QR codes into a space, and we found out that you can import a QR code and add it to like a name tag. And
I have a QR code on my desktop, I think.
Oh, you do? Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, let's import it.
All right, I'll use the cursor. And it's the same one you had before, that test one that takes you to the website that says hello.
What's the website for?
It's like a test QR code, and it takes you to the Google results for hello.
Oh.
All right, all yours.
Okay. All right, so let's add a little name tag right here. You can size images. So when you click your mouse once to set a corner, and then before you click it again, you can enter a size. So let's do 3 inches. And now it's like a little name tag. So you can zoom in, and if you guys want, you can pull your phone out and actually read this QR code. Let me zoom in a little more. So you can link your video, your sound piece to this QR code, and then have people watch it on their phone as they go through your model.
I also played around with like importing an artist label. So it had like a wall label with written information that included like your website, and then the QR code was under it. So you could kind of have like the visual written information with this digital link.
Yeah. That's great. So there's our little gallery with cat. Delete. Can you, so this model is available in the 3D warehouse. You can download it. Once you have SketchUp, you can click on the 3D warehouse icon and download, if you ever wanted to have a show, your solo show in Diego, you could download this model. It's not working for me on this end. Did that come up on your end, the 3D warehouse?
Yeah, I think maybe because it's open. Try the shaper.
Oh, no, I'm not seeing any menu on my screen.
Oh, I do see it. Okay.
Oh.
Let me see if it comes up if I go in here. Window, 3D warehouse. Do you see it?
I still don't see it.
I think it's because of my screen sharing.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can shift it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just, can we open the tabs or layers under Windows layers? Okay. So when you download this model, this window will pop up. And this has details of the model that you can, let's see if I can control. So you can control different aspects of this model with these tabs. If you are, much like we use the section tool to pull away walls, you can use this as well. So down at the bottom walls, you can click on the eyeball and then get rid of the walls, at least the outside walls. And then you can get in here and work on your model a little more. You know, if these windows are in your way or the roof, then you could start peeling away objects that are in your way. And then you can toggle them back on. At the same time, you can create a fly-through video. Let's see if we can add a couple scenes. So in the same menu where the layers was, I think there's a scenes. Scenes. Okay, so here we can add scenes by adding save as a new style. Create scene. Okay, so it just takes a picture of what you see, and then you can zoom in to whatever you want to see your next scene. And then you can press the add button again. And then up at the top, you see scene 1, scene 2. So then you can quickly go to scene 1, click scene 2, and then slowly add scenes so that you walk through your model. The 3D warehouse, to answer Megan's question, up at the very top, when you open SketchUp, there's an icon of the 3D warehouse, and you can click on it. It should take you to their 3D warehouse site. Once you've added several scenes, you can play your scenes, and I think in view, under view in the menu, there is a animation, and then play. And this will play a little animation. And it automatically fills in between scenes. So sometimes it does weird things like this where it takes you through the roof. So then you can adjust where you set your camera. The camera is very high here. So we can lower your view by either orbiting, or you can also use the hand tool, which lets you grab the scene and slide it without orbiting. You can get lost in your model sometimes. Okay, let's delete this scene. Add the scene. Sometimes it just takes some playing around to get it just the way you want it. Are there any questions about importing artwork or creating sculptural objects in the space? Okay.
There was one thing that came up, I remember, in the last conversation, too, that if you suspend something, like a sculpture.
Oh, yes, to suspend something.
And also that the image is like, the image appears on both sides of the plane.
Okay. So in the Diego, many people like to suspend artwork from the rafters. And suspending a plane, well, let's try to add a square floating in the air. Square. So a square wants to stick to a surface. So to get it to be up in the air by itself is very hard to do. Yeah, see, so one of these I got to float in the air, the other one is flat on the ground. So you have to give the square something to stick to, basically. So let's cut into the gallery and add something hanging from the rafters. Let's use our section plane again. Let's select it. M for move. Okay.
There's also a question that's coming up about being able to edit colors and lighting.
Okay. Let's work on getting this artwork in, and then we'll move on to color. So with your tape measure tool, you can add a line to, if there's an existing line, you can add a line to it. So let's take this angled line. If I double click, it'll give me a line, a dotted line that follows that same line all the way through. So if we want to hang right in the center of this rafter, we have to figure out, one, we can come in, there is no line right down the center. So, but this line over here is on the same plane as the face of this. So we can double click on this line. There it is. So that gives us a line. And then we can pull another line from that line so we get our center line. And then you can see orbit so you can see a little better. So now that line is going through the space at the space we want it. It doesn't look right. Hold on. Also, the bigger your model gets, the more sluggish your computer gets. All right, see, so as you can see, it set my dotted line on the back side of the column, and I want it on the front side. So let's try to pull this line to the front side. Okay, there it is. And let's erase the back side. Okay. All right, and if we know our artwork is, let's say it's 24 inches across, we can use our tape measure up here to add more reference lines. 12 inches. 12 inches. So now we have a reference that's 24 inches across coming through our space. And let's say this artwork, I just added myself a ground line, and the bottom of this artwork is 36 inches off the floor. Now we can take our rectangle tool, since we have created ourselves a floating reference plane. So now we can add a rectangle in here. So it should snap to these tape measure lines and then give us a floating surface that is now in space. And now we can do, let's go ahead and color this surface. So with the paint bucket tool, pulls up this menu, and you can select any of these colors. And it also gives you options of glass, bricks, different patterns, roofing. And you can select any of these. Let's do glass. And in glass, you can, in any of these, you can select how opaque or clear they are with the opacity. So let's make this pretty clear. Let's click it. And now we have a floating sheet of glass. Walls. Are reaching the limits of what this model can do and with this processing speed. You can see we have glitched, and now our section plane is not cutting our wall. Reapply that. Delete that. Okay. And then we can come in and add, you know, a line up to the rafters so that it appears that our object is hanging from them. And again, this surface you can add, you can import an image and apply it to the surface. You can cut the outside of it, image out like I showed you and give it dimension. But that is how you would add a plane floating in space. The tape measure tool is one of the handiest tools in Sketchup.
And then how do you control the daylight or how like the lighting enters the space?
Daylight, so go up to view. And then up here you have one, you can add shadows. Let's go ahead and click shadows. So you can see now,
Wow.
we have shadow. You can actually geolocate your model in Google Maps, and then it will arrange it in the correct orientation to northeast, southwest. And in a certain tool, Do you know where the large tool palette selection is to edit your toolbar?
Oh,
Um,
you know, you mean in here?
in here, it's under Windows, or maybe it's under Windows. Oh, customize toolbar. Yeah. So in here, you can, oh, right here. You can grab this shadows, and then you can change the dates and the time, and you can adjust natural lights coming in to your space.
Should I bring this up here
Sure,
just to demo it?
just to demo it. Okay. So then we'll see if it's fast enough to do it. Yeah, so you see as I slide this across, then the shadows change depending on the time of year. That's how you edit natural lights in your model. There are applications. SketchUp has applications that you can download that you can actually add lights, like a light bulb, and direct the source of that light and pick, you know, different things, different aspects to a flood, a spot, fluorescence. All those are options that you can tweak with these applications. They can get very complicated very fast. If you are a photo major, you would probably love these apps because of what you could control. Because it looks at your model much like a camera would look at it, so you can adjust the aperture, f-stops, and then watch how your space changes. These are located in what is the extension? Where? No. Where are those?
Probably buried in my stuff.
No, where you can download. Maybe it's the extension warehouse. Extension warehouse, you can also download. No, sorry, in the 3D warehouse, you can download other people's models. And a lot of people upload their models of, you name it, chairs, airplanes, cars, trees. You know, if I wanted to add the foliage that's in this courtyard, I could go into the 3D warehouse and look up bushes or shrubs, and then download, and then start to build this courtyard out to look as real as the actual thing. I should try to find some turtles to put in the pond. The application where you add lights requires a lot of processing speed, but they're pretty amazing what you can do with them.
Also, one thing about having an exhibition and then showcasing it, essentially, if you upload your completed installation in the exhibition space to the 3D warehouse, you can then embed the 3D warehouse on any website page. So SketchUp's 3D warehouse essentially does all of the back-end hosting labor and work and storage for your exhibition, and the embedded model on your website is able to be walked through by any individual user.
I know this is a lot, but we have 10 minutes left. I'd like to open it up for questions, or if someone wants to see something demonstrated. Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? There is also, I guess, can I pull in the Shaper
Yes.
gallery?
Yeah.
Okay. We also have another gallery that operates as the graduate exhibition space at the Fort Mason Center building. And so Robin was able to build out a model for that space as well. Did it load?
I'm not seeing it.
Maybe we're overwhelming my computer.
Oh, yes, because we were trying to bring it into this.
Oh, we're loading it into the same space?
The same one,
I
yes.
see. Oh, we'll see. There it is. It's the whole Fort Mason Center building. Flying overhead. Okay. But it's also really cool because you can kind of see on both of these models, there's like a floor plan. And did you put the floor plan down on the ground and then essentially build the walls and stuff up from the floor plan?
Did, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you could import, if you have the plans of a structure, you could import a floor plan, scale the image of the floor plan to actual size, and then build off of a floor plan. And that's how I built a Diego.
So there's another question here too about if I make a model of artwork, can you help place it in the school model after I've worked on it like a sculpture? And, you know, we are working with our current students to help transition their objects or continue this kind of tutorials and help offline as well, outside of this combo.
Yes, you can email projects or models. And as long as we have the same version of SketchUp, it should be able to open.
Yeah, and I typed this into the chat section, but just so you know, we are working with SketchUp 2019. And I'm looking into being able to get more keys and accessibility to students who want to use this primarily for upcoming projects. All right, well, we have a couple more minutes. If there's any last questions, I'm seeing a lot of appreciation. So thank you very much, Robin, for being our first person to brave into this world.
Yes.
And if anyone has continued questions, please feel free to email us at exhibitions@sfai.edu. We both see those emails and are very open and willing to share what we are learning and resources that we have found.
Yes. Send me your questions.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to end the meeting now, and we hope to see you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.